Throughout God of War Ragnarok, one mystery stands above the rest. A question that shapes Atreus, the Aesir, and every realm involved in the apocalypse. Just how far did the giants plan ahead? What did they know? What did they leave behind? And most importantly, what did they want from Atreus beyond the final mural? The giants were playing a different game. To understand the giants' plan, we first have to understand how differently they think. The Aesir planned for power. The Greeks planned for war. But the giants, they planned for survival. Not just for themselves, but for the balance of the worlds. Where Odin tried to force prophecy to obey him, the giants cooperated with it. They worked with fate, not against it. And that difference changed everything. The giants knew they couldn't win a war against Odin head-on. So they played a longer, slower, more subtle game, one involving secrets, soul transfers, hidden identities, and a boy born far from Jötunheim who would grow into the key that unlocks their entire plan. Loki, the scattering of souls, the first piece of the puzzle. One of the biggest reveals in Ragnarok is that the giants didn't simply die. They hid themselves. They shattered their souls into objects, seeds, marbles, tiny containers capable of surviving Odin's destruction. It wasn't death. It was preservation. It was a way to store themselves so that, eventually, someone could free them. And that's the first major clue. The giants' plan wasn't just about beating Odin. It was about ensuring their people could rise again after he was gone. They trusted that someone, not necessarily Kratos, not necessarily Atreus, would eventually carry those souls to safety. But here's the twist. They didn't choose a hero. They chose a path, a timeline, a chain of events, a prophecy they believed would play out as long as the right people followed their nature. Faye's role, the quiet architect. If the giants created the blueprint, Faye was the builder. Everything we learn in Ragnarok suggests that Faye understood the plan better than anyone alive. She wasn't simply running from Thor, she was shaping Kratos and Atreus' journey. Think about it. She kept Atreus' true name secret. She guided Kratos to spread her ashes exactly where the giants wanted them. She carved the murals long before her death. She knew Kratos would not see the giant prophecies unless she forced him onto the path. Faye didn't just follow the plan. She optimized it. She put her husband and son in the exact position the timeline needed. But even she didn't know everything, and that's important. The giants didn't give anyone the full puzzle. Every piece was scattered across realms, stories, and memories. That way, even if Odin captured a giant, he could never see the whole picture. Atreus, the intended catalyst, but not the final answer. The giants' murals show Atreus on a journey. A boy destined to meet Angrboda, to discover his people, to witness the death of Odin, and to forge a new beginning. But here's the detail people overlook. The murals end early. They don't continue into Atreus' unknown future. This tells us something huge. Even the giants didn't know exactly what Atreus would become. They didn't control him. They didn't define his destiny. They simply prepared him. He wasn't their puppet, he was their possibility. They believed. He would have the heart to free their souls. He would have the courage to stand against Odin. And he would eventually choose his own path, even if it led away from Kratos. The plan wasn't for Atreus to be a ruler, a weapon, or a god killer. The plan was for him to be the one giant who could make a choice without fear, because every form of truth had been placed before him. The giant's true goal, a future where they don't need prophecy. Here's where things get interesting. The giants followed prophecy, yes, but their ultimate goal wasn't to obey fate forever. It was to create a future beyond prophecy. Think of the giant timeline as a corridor. All events lead to one final door. Once that door is opened, Ragnarok, Odin's fall, the freeing of the giants, everything after that is unknown. Because it was meant to be unknown. The giants weren't trying to control the end. They were trying to create a clean slate, a universe where their people could live without Odin hunting them, without the Aesir rewriting fate, and without being trapped inside predictions. This is why the murals stop. This is why Atreus is left without a final instruction. The giants didn't want a dictated future. They wanted a free one. If you're enjoying this breakdown so far and want more deep lore content, hit that like button and drop your own mask theory in the comments. Myth Mode is all about sharing ideas with the community. Now, let's continue. Angrboda and Atreus, the continuation, not the conclusion. Angrboda represents the other half of the giant plan. She is the memory keeper, the historian, the one who knows the way to the past. Atreus represents the opposite, the future, the potential, the ability to break cycles. Together, they create something the giants never had before, a future where knowledge and freedom exist side by side. Their meeting wasn't random. Their bond wasn't accidental. It was necessary. Angrboda preserved the identities of her people. Atreus freed their souls. Together, they set the stage for the rebirth of Jötunheim. But the giants didn't outline what they should do next. That was the point. The new giant age must be built by choice, not prophecy. How far ahead did the giants actually plan? So let's face the big question head on. Did the giants foresee everything? No, and yes. They foresaw the big events. Odin's rise, the destruction of Jötunheim, Faye's arrival, the birth of Loki, the death of Baldur, Ragnarok, Odin's defeat, but they did not control the details. Kratos' role was originally unclear. The choices Atreus made were unpredictable. The survival of characters like Freya or Thor were not fixed. The exact shape of the 9 realms post-Ragnarok was open-ended. The giants planned the framework, not the outcome. They were visionaries, not dictators of destiny. The unanswered questions of the giants' plan. Even with everything we know, some pieces of the giant plan remain unsolved, intentionally so. 1. Why did they create the mask? Was it a tool for Loki? A warning about the origin of the universe? A failed attempt to understand creation itself? The giants never explained it. 2. Did they know Kratos was a god from another realm? The murals show Kratos' journey, but did they know he was the ghost of Sparta? Or did they just see a powerful protector? We don't know. 3. Did they predict Atreus leaving Kratos? The final mural Faye destroyed shows Kratos dying, but the actual ending shows Kratos alive and Atreus leaving by choice. Was this a failure of prophecy or the fulfillment of the true plan? 4. What future did they want Atreus to build? They gave him the tools, they gave him the truth, but they gave him no path. That silence might be the loudest clue of all. The giants trusted Atreus to define his own future. The giants' plan was never about controlling the future. It was about ending control. When you piece everything together, one theme becomes clear. The giants didn't want to conquer. They didn't want to rule. They didn't want to impose a new prophecy. They wanted freedom. Freedom from Odin. Freedom from prophecy. Freedom from being hunted, manipulated, or defined by their past. Their plan was a final act of hope. Hide their souls. Preserve their memories. Protect a child born to change the world. And trust that when the dust settles, someone with the heart of a giant would rebuild their people. That someone wasn't a warrior, a king, or a conqueror. It was a boy who wanted to understand who he is. A boy named Atreus, a giant named Loki. What comes next? The future beyond the giant's vision. The key word here is beyond. Because everything after the fall of Odin is uncharted. For the first time, the giants have no prophecy. The Aesir have no king. The realms have no destined outcome. And Atreus has no path laid out for him. This is the world the giants wanted to create, a world where choices matter because they're free, not because they're written. And that's where the next game, or the next saga, will truly begin. Atreus' journey to find the remaining giants isn't a quest of destiny. It's a quest of identity. Kratos' new role as a god of peace isn't predicted. It's earned. And the rebirth of Jötunheim isn't inevitable. It must be built. The future is now shaped by their choices, not by murals on a wall. And that is the true final phase of the giants' plan. So the giants planned far ahead, farther than Odin could ever understand. But even they knew when to step aside, when to let the world reshape itself without prophecy. Thanks for watching today's deep dive on Myth Mode. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe for more God of War theories, mythological breakdowns, and hidden lore across all your favorite franchises. Your support helps keep the legends alive. Until next time, stay mythic.